It is Friday, July the 16th. That means 68 days left of summer on the calendar. And boy, this would be just a beautiful spot to spend a summer's day. A park that really awakens the senses. So much beautiful things here. I'm catching all the fragrance here of the flowers and so much to see. So welcome aboard, my friends. It is a privilege to have your company today. This is episode 19 of Here and There. My name is Anwar Knight, your host. It's a real treat to have you here as we close out a week. And of course, we are streaming. Guys, what are we streaming? Live? Can I hear it? We're streaming? Oh, okay. So maybe I got the B team with me. It took a little while. That's okay. We are streaming live, indeed, live on location in Port Credit at the Bruckner Rhododendron Gardens. And I am so excited to give you a tour of this spot throughout the day. In fact, we have a very busy show coming up. We also, of course, will have your full forecast. And I'm happy to report calmer conditions today. Of course, yesterday, just devastating north of the city in Barrie. These conditions will be ideal for some of the cleanup and assessment here as we go forward. But there is also rain coming. So we'll have all of those details coming up. Also another installment to the Nod to Nature. And on today's Nod to Nature, we salute a very special rat. Now, before you go, this rat is responsible for saving hundreds, if not thousands of lives. So we'll introduce you to him. And of course, another AKQ, the Anwar Knight Query. That's when I have a question and I ask you for the answer. And to set us up, it's a very special day today. Officially 52 years ago today, one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind occurred. The Apollo 11 launched. It was 52 years ago today at 9:32 a.m. on July the 16th. 4 days later, it landed on the moon. I'll show you a picture or two here. So it was on July the 20th, where an estimated 600 million people watched with anxious excitement as Neil Armstrong, and he's on the left of this photo of the three crew, he put his left foot on the lunar surface and famously declared, "That's one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind." So today's AKQ, the Anwar Knight Query, if you had an opportunity for free to go to space, would you do it? Again, no cost involved. If you'd like to go, and why? And if not, tell me that too. If you had a chance to go to space, free of charge, would you do it? Now, of course, fast forward half a century, we have billionaires that are doing it, right? Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and there's one Canadian woman from Winnipeg. She'll be one of the first Canadians to board officially the Virgin Galactic space plane when it launches probably towards the end of next year. And she paid 200 grand for it. So I'm offering a free trip. For me personally, I gotta be honest, no desire to go to space. I think it's cool. But I'm kind of fearful that we need to really fix the Earth before we go to another planet and do damage what we've done here. So for me, I'm not on board going on space, but I look forward to connecting with you throughout the show here. So let me sort of set the scene of where we are. So you can see all the gardens here. It's just a beautiful spot. So this is an 18-acre park. And it really is year-round enjoyment. It's a botanical garden that kisses the shore of Lake Ontario, and it celebrates community because it is named after the late Dr. Joseph Bruckner, a longtime Mississauga resident and master rhododendron hybridizer. So that's why it's called the Bruckner Rhododendron Garden. And what we have here is a plaque. So this is to honor him when the park was renamed for him. He originally was from Hungary. And then he moved to the Maritimes, and that is where, he dedicated much of his life to horticulture, specializing in rhododendrons, especially during his time in the Maritimes. 1976, he moved here with his large collection, and he continued his hybridizing work. So many of the plants, the rhododendrons, which is up here, that particular garden, it really was all his own personal private collection. And it has grown since, but this is really just a unique opportunity. Now, I have to tell you, we missed the peak bloom time, right? Typically, that wraps up in June. But clearly, there's a lot of beautiful colors to enjoy around the region. And we mentioned about community. Well, that's because some of this is cared for by volunteers, a community organization that really loves and is passionate about this park and wants to keep it thriving. So they come and they do a lot of work. You know, I was here over over a year ago, and because the restrictions were really at the height when they didn't know what was going on, so obviously they restricted volunteers coming. So they've come back now and really made everything beautiful. So we'll quickly go along here, and this is where the official Rhododendron Garden is, and it's through that gateway. Now, of course, all you're seeing is green. The colors have really passed by us now, unfortunately, but it is still a beautiful spot to visit, and we're going to give you a tour because there's so many neat little stories here, and of course, as I mentioned, the access to the lake. Hey guys, how are you? I'm doing well. We're just streaming live here. We're just sort of exploring the park. Yeah. Ricardo, sorry, can I trouble you for 1 second? Let's let the kids give a wave here. Because they're excited. We're streaming live around the world. We have viewers watching us every Friday at 1 o'clock, and we explore different parks. So today it's this one. So have you enjoyed the park so far? Yeah. Pretty nice, eh? So you would certainly recommend it to our viewers to come down? Oh, for sure. So 1 to 10, 10 being awesome, 1 being what number are you thinking? 10. Oh! Okay, so it has officially been endorsed. We appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. So we're going to continue our tour here, and we're also connecting with you. So we have so many people joining us. Sharon is here, Kathy, Donna, also John is joining us, and Sheila, Lois, Lonnie is here. And also Zainer is saying hello to the community who's joining us. Good stuff. And Linda says, looks beautiful. It really is a beautiful spot. And what I love about it is that you have the pathway. There are some benches. So you really can come and make an afternoon of it if you want to do a picnic and that sort of thing. You can see some of the colors here too, the hydrangeas. So just a wonderful spot to take in the smells and the sights, and I'm going to show you some very cool trees in a moment because some of these trees are borderline endangered, and there's some really neat stories connected with them. Wally says, cheers Anwar, we used to have a trailer mine from the Barrie tornado, and we sold it a few years ago after 22 years going there. I bet there's a lot of stories, a lot of connections. In fact, Vern was mentioning about the other previous Barrie tornado many years ago. And Laura says, fly me to the moon, adventure at Waits. Well, okay. Kathy says, nope, huge pass for me, can't stand in closed places. You know, that's true. You know, you think economy on Air Transat's bad? I mean, you're in there and you got Mach 3 going on. There's no wiggle room, and you can't be, I just got to pee. That's not allowed. You can just go where you are, right? Let me ask you guys, Ricardo, chance to go to space? Yay or nay?
No chance.
No chance.
No chance.
Vern?
Absolutely,
Oh.
but it's a toss-up between the money
Oh,
and
okay.
going to space.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you do go, it's a one-way trip. Okay? You know, by the way, Donna mentioned on last week's show, poor Vern. We seem to pick on you. So you have people that are fighting for you. Vern and I go way back when Canada AM was on. He was the floor director of the show. So he's now part of the Here and There crew. It's great to have him. And look, a lot of people saying no. First of all, Shelley is saying, nice to see you. No space trip for me either. Kyle says, no way. Lori says, no thanks. Bev, nope. I'm really surprised. I thought there would be people saying, yeah, sign me up. This is very interesting. Wendy is saying hello from Mississauga. I remember watching them land on the moon all those years ago, and it was amazing. I don't think I'd head to outer space now. When I was 20 years younger, I would have. And let me just make this bigger. And you would have been in 20 years ago. Well, that's interesting. So you think it's a young person's game. I don't know. Mind you, the picture we showed of Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, they were really young. I don't know the exact ages, but I looked at them and said, wow, these look like, and no disrespect because they've been trained and all that, but they look like just young high school kids, you know? It's really quite something. Joyce says, no, I would not go. Linda says, hello. Kyle says, Haley says, hi. Hello, Haley. Thanks for joining us today. And also Narita says, what a beautiful park. The flowers are nicely maintained. In fact, some of the crews, look, they're working on it right now. Yeah, absolutely. So there is a lot of people coming together to ensure that this park, you know, maintains the caliber that it has been over years. Now, I mentioned a couple of trees, and this is really unique. So I want to show you this one, and there were a couple here. Some of them have died off, and it's the Kentucky coffee tree. So this is a threatened species. It's not officially endangered, but could become endangered if steps to protect it are not there. Now, this is a newly planted one. And what is really interesting is that the fruit that grows on the Kentucky coffee tree is like a pod. And this is a very young tree, but when it's mature, I mean, it could be 10, 15 centimeters long. So, you know, it's almost, it's a good-sized, leathery-looking pouch, and there are 7 seeds in it. And what's interesting about the Kentucky coffee tree is that squirrels aren't attracted to the seeds, and there's a reason, I'll tell you that in a moment. But the only way the reproduction can be successful of the tree is when the seed pods are carried by water. So when there's excessive rain or the melt of spring, because the pods will be on right through the winter, and eventually it sort of gets traveled around, and by luck, you know, it cracks open and you get a sprout, a blossom. But what's interesting is that early settlers, why it's called the Kentucky coffee tree, early settlers started to utilize the pods, mix it with water, and say, hey, you know, this is a menial substitute for coffee, right? There's a bit of a taste. But before you start getting your grinder ready, I have to tell you, if you don't roast those little seed pods at the right temperature for the right time, minimum 3 hours, I mean, it's poisonous. It can make you very, very sick. See, Vern was already, he had a coffee cup with creamers ready. He was like, yeah, can I get, you know, double-double? It's not a drive-through. You have to be careful. But I found that very fascinating. So that's the Kentucky coffee tree. Now, I'm going to show you another tree as we tour and stream live here at the Bruckner Rhododendron Gardens in Port Credit, Mississauga. A tree that you can make a beautiful leaf liqueur with. But before we do that, I wanted to get to the forecast. And we'll start off by letting you know that the weather is brought to you by the Big Blue Marble Podcast. We invite you to listen and discover the undeniable stories of our changing planet and the amazing people that are trying to save it. Available now on your favorite podcast player or at www.bigbluemarble.earth. So as we continue our tour, our live stream tour here in Port Credit, these beautiful gardens, and our AKQ today is, would you go to space if you had the opportunity? John says, I'd love to go up just for the view, but medical conditions prevent that. You know, that's very true. You have to be, as they say, a fit as a fiddle when you're going up in space, and we know why. Tammy says, I love the views, but I'm not big on flying, so I'm chickening out. I don't think you're chickening out. I think you're using some common sense. Good for you. So you can see here now, look at this, this canopy here. And primarily, I mean, we have some pine trees, but we also have some European beech trees. And these are really the king of shade trees. They're just gorgeous, really beautiful stuff. And you can see them here. They're slow growers, 1 to 2 feet in general, but they have a very long lifespan. You're talking over 2 centuries, some may be a little longer. But what's interesting, they are the king of the shade trees, but their bark is very sensitive, very delicate. So you can see here, you know, I don't know, maybe that was a whippersnapper, you know, or maybe just a kid with a penknife. But wherever there's a mark, it doesn't really heal very well. And that makes it potentially, you know, putting the trees at risk. In fact, we're going to show you something else further down here, you know, where kids, Bob loves Lisa sort of thing. By the way, there's part of the waterfront trail. It will connect to it. So we're going to walk down that as well. But in the meantime, Aileen is saying, hi from Lindsay, Ontario. Kathy's saying, considering our AC went on us yesterday, oh, what a difference today's temps are, thankfully. Yeah, not having AC, that's pretty intense. Look, here we can see, I think it's a J, but obviously it's a little love note. I don't know what the date is, but the tree, you know, wasn't able to really heal that very well. So that means the potential for disease, for insects to come in. Thankfully, this tree clearly has survived, and I'm estimating maybe 150 years old, maybe a little bit more, but just beautiful. And I have to tell you, the one thing that I really like is the fact that you're getting the shade here. You know, even with the humid conditions, we have a very comfortable environment. Now, you know, the other thing is I have 2 young kids. We have many of our viewers watching with kids or grandkids. This is what I love about this park in particular, because there's so many varied landscapes. I mean, my kids just love exploring through here. There's so many different things. The terrain is different. The trees are different. So it's really nice. And because it's not that large, you can keep an eye on them very easily. So that's the beautiful thing. But I love taking the kids just to go up and, you know, touch some of the trees. It's about textures, right? And there are learning moments in there. Like if we swing over here, You can see some of these trees. Now, I'm assuming the branches were cut, you know, from the municipality, the crews, because they want to keep the brush clean at the lower levels. But you can see how the tree tries to heal itself, right? So these are little scabs or scars, the healing when the branches were cut off. It still looks like a very healthy tree, but it's just interesting how nature tries to compensate when it's hurt. So we're going to continue our tour, and David says, "Hi, Anwar, nice to see you." Well, you too, David. Appreciate your company as we hop on the trail here. And also Helen says, "Nobody does well." You're very kind. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the forecast. So Linda is saying, and I don't know if I want to open up this can of worms, planning something outdoors for the end of July. What will the long range weather look like? You know, I used to have, Linda, people who would send me emails and say, "My daughter's getting married in 2026, August 4th. Can you..." I don't want to get into that, otherwise that's all I'll be doing full time. But in general, the trend is it's still going to be slightly unstable, and I still think we're going to have another surge of heat before it starts to tamper down a little bit. But we'll leave it at that for now. Don also says thank you for the forecast, and also Christine says, "What a wet July. We're trying to stain our deck. Enough rain already." You know, it's interesting. As a homeowner, yes, I wonder too also for guys who are building decks and fences and that sort of thing, because it can get really mucky if you're using the big augers, but I guess you take the work when you can and when it comes there. Deborah says, "So good to see you again." Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Kathy says, "Used an old dehumidifier, bought a new fan and a damp cloth on the forehead just to sleep last night. Getting the AC fixed this afternoon." Well, I'm glad to hear that. You know, it's interesting. I'm working on a new podcast episode that I'm hoping to get out for next Tuesday, and it talks about the extreme heat wave that we had in Western Canada, Pacific Northwest as well. Guys, just be careful. There's a bike coming up here, so maybe we pick a side so we don't block that. And you know, the number of people that died in BC because of the heat, and the problem is it's mainly at night. You know, during the day, because they're obviously by the water, you can go by the ocean and you can get a breeze. You can go to a cooling center. But at nighttime, traditionally, obviously you want to get indoors into your home where it's safe, you know, through the overnight hours. If you don't have AC, it's stifling. And if you're elderly, you know, you may be missing the cues that your body is telling you that you're overheated, and that's why you can succumb to that heat. So that's part of the problem, and it looks like overall the agencies in BC were not prepared. And part of the podcast, I'm going to be talking with Professor Simon Donner from the University of British Columbia, and we talk about the fact that municipalities across the country need to have a plan in place now. Yes, it can evolve, but overall, we have to be able to flip a switch and activate something when you have these extreme heat conditions. Because Lytton, BC, which, you know, broke the record across the country, 49.6 degrees, the norm is 25. So it was double the norm, almost 50 degrees Celsius, and they don't have air conditioning as much there. The trend is growing to get AC, but it is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. So that's something we're going to cover. I just wanted to mention that. But Zaner adds, "I feel very bad for Barrie that was hit by the tornado yesterday." Yeah, we're all supporting Barrie. Our thoughts are with them. And Jack Taylor says, "I would go if Captain Picard joined me and beamed me up." I don't know, I guess, sure. Captain Picard, well, I guess you'd be in good hands. I don't know. Yes, you know. Jane says, "Beautiful hydrangeas in the background. No space trip for me. Lots to explore here on Earth." Isn't that the truth? And that's part of the mandate here of what we're doing on Here and There, finding these amazing gems that we all can take advantage of, connect with nature, and also tell some cool stories. There's so many of them, so we always appreciate your company and support here. Larissa says, "Lovely park." Also, Madeline says, "I'd go to space, but would prefer a trip to some lovely places on Earth first." Yeah, there'd be a list. Maybe that'll be, okay, there's bikes coming. We'll come over here, guys. you know, maybe we should do another virtual vacation like we did for the stay-at-home orders for the show. Remember, back in May, we were sort of wondering where we would like to go. And I think travel is starting to pick up. There's no question about that. Okay, so let's also connect. Oh, Anna's wondering, what park are you in? I missed the beginning. Well, usually our viewers will let you know, but we are live here in Port Credit at the Bruckner Rhododendron Gardens. And this is the largest rhododendron garden in Canada. And the peak, you know, you're looking at May and June, but clearly lots of other stuff to enjoy. And we've seen people coming and, you know, pass us here. So this is part of the waterfront trail. And it kisses, as I said, the lake. So take a look at this beautiful view. So that's another thing, you know, in terms of getting the whole family together, you can take advantage of all these varied sceneries that the kids can enjoy. So that's what it's about. Barb says, so enjoy your visit to these different places. Well, thank you. And John says, hello, Anwar. Kudos for sending out the weather alert yesterday for Barrie. Oh, John, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, well, we try our best. I mean, reality, I can't do it 24 hours a day, but we were looking, you know, it's called a hook echo on the radar, which is a signature that there's some rotation, and we wanted to get the word out. I also posted on my Facebook sort of a breakdown of how tornadoes form. So if anybody's interested, we wanted to do that as well. John also says Port Credit's a pretty place, and yeah, Laura has now mentioned the exact location, so thank you for that. Cindy's joining us. What a nice place. It really is. And also, Joanne Lynn says this is the park that has beautiful tree carvings. There may be. We haven't discovered that yet, but we have noted there's another bridge just north of me, and it looks like either school groups or maybe some summer camps. All the kids have put up little birdhouses, and there's sort of almost a Zen moment there. You know, you can gather your thoughts, and then you're feeding the birds. I thought it was really kind of neat. So let's take a look here. Also, Sarah J says, I definitely go to space, a total dream of mine. Sadly, I'm sure I wouldn't be allowed. Well, Sarah J, if you have a Visa card or a big wad of cash, you're in. As I mentioned, the lady in Winnipeg, she spent over 200 grand. She had to put a $20,000 deposit and then has to pay the rest 3 months before they launch. So she says she has already saved about half in U.S. funds. I don't know how she's doing it, but, and you know, to be honest, I don't know her exact age, but she appeared to be maybe mid-50s. I mean, she's all excited to go, maybe even the early 60s. So that's sort of a thrill for her. So I'll leave that up to you. Mo is joining us. Mo Dixon, hi from Curve Lake. Oh, that's nice. Deborah Gordon says, so good to see you again. And also Helen says, oh, well, thank you, Helen. I appreciate it. Just appreciates the forecast. Very cool stuff. So, yeah, this is where you want to come if you want to explore a little bit of floral adventure, plus some shaded trees, and, of course, by the lake. Oh, look at this. I don't know if we can catch that or not, but we've got... Now, is it called... parasailing? No, not the one that's on the boat, but that's a pretty sweet view. Isn't that something? But you can see also just to the lower left, it'll be too hard to see on camera, but there's also some swans there. There's quite a bit of swans that hang out here. But isn't that cool? Oh, wow, that's amazing stuff. My goodness. So, you know, that'd be another thing.
Cheaper than going to space.
Yeah, yes, Richard says that's a cheaper way to get to space. Yeah, that's an entrepreneur on a budget. You know, you're just kissing the edge of Earth. Wow. Laura says I'm treading on thin water. Never guess a woman's age. Yeah, that'll never go into her purse. You're absolutely right. Anyway, listen, before we wrap up, I want to get into our nod to nature. You know, this is where we sort of salute unique aspects of nature, whether it be plants or animals. And this is a unique one because it is a salute to a hero rat. I want you to meet Magawa. This rat is retiring. I'll show you some pictures here. And Magawa is one of the most successful bomb-sniffing rats of all time. He's been doing it for 5 years, making the Cambodian countryside safer, and is credited with finding more than 100 buried explosive devices. It's an African species of rat. It has one of the most sensitive noses in the animal kingdom. They grow up to 3 feet long, including the tail. But through the training program, they're trained to sniff for TNT, which is very commonly found in most explosives. So this rat has helped clear 225,000 square meters of land. Isn't that something? And was even awarded a gold medal for his service. Likely has helped save hundreds, if not thousands of people. So that's our nod to nature. Amazing though, right? What can be achieved when we work with nature instead of against it. And by the way, Magawa will retire, and there are other rats now who are fulfilling their duty in Cambodia. So I thought that was really neat. Anyway, my friends, we're going to sort of wrap up here, but I want to thank everybody for joining us. Susan from Bob Cajun, also Kathy. Oh, you guys are connecting together. That's amazing. And Wally says, why go to space when you can chill out with me as an Anwar for a week? Well, I appreciate that. You know, maybe we should do a 1 week long road trip. We'll stream every day. I think that would be a hoot. Anyway, listen, I want to thank you again for your ongoing support and for joining us here on another edition of Here and There. As per usual, please help me grow the program. If you like what we're doing, show me a parade of hearts. Line them up. There we go. And I ask you to please make sure you're following my page. If you do follow, you get advance warning when we have some pop-up streams and other benefits on the page. And of course, above all, share it. Tell your friends about it. Let's connect, let's laugh, and let's learn. I call it a daily or weekly dose of forecast and fun. And if you're watching the program on my YouTube channel, The Re-Rack for next week, please like and subscribe to the channel, and also feel free to comment, ask questions. We'll get right back to you. Thanks again, my friends. On that note, I wish you a wonderful, safe, and happy weekend, and look forward to you joining me again. Where? Well, here and there. See you later.